All right. Well, thanks, Tim, and good morning, everyone. I looked at the attendee list before we got started today, and there are some familiar names on the list. So thank you, everyone, for attending. As Tim said, my name is Andrew Rashid. We're with Alliance Solutions Group, and today we're going to talk about 5 reasons why we think it's worth considering an upgrade to Acumatica. And so before we jump into the product, thought we'd just take a couple of quick moments and reacclimate everyone on the call to who Alliance Solutions Group is. Over the past couple of years, we've definitely experienced quite a bit of change and growth. And so some of you who might be familiar with us as being local just to California or maybe to Florida or Texas, it's really important to understand that our firm kind of covers essentially coast to coast, going down the south from California over to Florida. And actually, there are a number of people on the call today from the Caribbean as well. And so our firm completely focuses on the construction and real estate market. So unlike other technology providers, our entire firm's focus is spent investing our time with construction and real estate companies, helping them implement and review different technology solutions. And so, with that being said, our approach, the way we typically go through and work with a client, is we'll start with a discovery meeting where we learn a bit more about your business and what things are important for you all to solve. We'll then take those items, build an agenda, and prepare a personalized demo of the software that we're going to show you in terms of what we feel is best fit to solve those needs. And ultimately, when you choose to proceed, you'll be aligned with one of our many consultants who will help implement the software. And our firm does focus on a whole suite of different applications, everything from estimating to accounting to project management and estimating. And so our topic today is Acumatica. That's one of our exciting new applications where we feel the market is headed. It's a completely web-based application. And we typically try to leverage the term web-based as much as we can because there is a difference between something that's hosted in the cloud versus something that is natively on the web. Just simply put, this particular solution we can access from anywhere on any device at any time. In fact, if you so chose to do, you could go into the App Store on either an Apple or an Android device and actually find a disconnected app, is what we call that, for Acumatica. And you could do things from the app like look at dashboards, approve invoices, enter POs and change orders. So when we say this solution is mobile, we truly mean that from every sense of the word mobile. And when we think of Acumatica, even though we're just going to really touch on a few high-level items that we want to point out that might get you all thinking about maybe further investigating Acumatica, it is also important to understand it is a full enterprise accounting platform, meaning we can do all of the different aspects of running your construction business inside Acumatica. That being said, they have a thriving third-party developer network too. Unlike some other software providers, they encourage integration. So it's no surprise that right out of the gate, they started integrating with Procore. They've got integrations with DocuSign and Adobe Sign. And if you need a schedule, they integrate with Smartsheets. And so they definitely encourage a connected platform, and they encourage integration with other solutions. And so it really does give the client more of a unique experience in terms of truly having a connected business. So we're going to jump into the 5 reasons that we think are really compelling to take a closer look at Acumatica. I do think it is important. User friendly tends to be almost overused by software these days. But I think when you look at a modern technology platform, one of the native attributes that these systems offer is truly a much more user-friendly navigation and just an easier ability to search for items. And we're gonna talk about that. We also are finding more and more of our clients trying to involve business development into their operations. And so we think it's unique that Acumatica has tackled that with an integrated CRM. So I'm just going to touch on what that means. We're going to also talk about how they totally reimagined the workflow for the contractor. So what we mean by that is, for example, taking a closer look at the job screen and how you can really get more accomplished in that one window. Um, Spinning out from there, another hot topic these days is workflows and approvals, especially for those customers on the phone who, you're in a business that's growing and changing. And as you grow your business, things that may not have been critical when you first started, such as maybe approving an AP invoice, gets more complicated the larger your firm gets. So we're just going to quickly touch on what that also can mean to your firm. And then we're going to end things with role-based dashboards. And this is another real game changer. Um, Companies that are playing catch up with this type of technology, they tend to say, look, we've got some dashboards. But truly having a custom dashboard for the role of the consumer of that information tends to be a little bit more difficult to accomplish in legacy platforms. Acumatica has really done a great job in really turning that on its head and truly providing an avenue for role-based dashboards. So let's go ahead and jump into this. All right. So what we're looking at is the Acumatica home screen. When you log in, this is what you're greeted with. And as I said, the navigation of it, very intuitive. Over on the left-hand side of the screen are all the different applications that are available to me. Now, this would be controlled by security. So in other words, security is going to control who can go where and who can see what in the system. But one of the neat things that we can do inside of Acumatica is, if for my work, I wanted to modify the layout of these applications, I could do so. I don't have to be a software programmer to do that. I could just simply hit edit the menu, and I could really change the label of that particular application. So if maybe, for example, I wanted to say something like vendor compliance instead of compliance, I could change that label. I could also remove items that are irrelevant to my work. If I want to group items that I spend my day doing, I could also create my own workspace to consolidate my activities that I want to use. And so I can just right out of the gate start configuring or tailoring the menu to my specific needs and view. Now, not everyone's going to need to do that. Most folks won't, but pretty much everybody on the call ultimately is going to want to tailor their menu, their individual menu to their needs. And that really couldn't be easier to do. I just pick the application that I'm working on, hit the gearbox that you see right here, and then it's going to basically open up all of the menu items. And now what you see exposed are all the different items that could be sitting on my menu. Then I could simply check those things on or off. And what I'm left with is a workspace that is consolidated to my particular needs. And for those of you on the phone who wear many hats, maybe you spend your morning doing some change orders and some AP invoices, and in the afternoon you do some pro forma or AIA billings. You can also click this little star next to your menu item or report. And what that is going to do is that is going to create shortcuts over here on your favorites. And so we've got a couple of different ways that you can navigate through the system. But one of the really powerful things that Acumatica has done to really change the way that you navigate through a software program is they've rolled out what's called a global search. And so if I wanted to, I could literally hide the menu, and instead of using that, go to my global search and say, for example, I needed to enter a change order. As I begin typing that in, it's going to do a string search through the menu and identify everything that meets those characters' needs. And you can kind of see, even down here under reports, it picked up change as the third word. So it truly is almost like a Google type search. And then when I find the item I want, I can just click on it and pop open that screen or report. But that's not the only thing that we can use the global search for. We also have the capability to use this powerful global search to actually search the system. So, whether I'm looking for a transaction or a record in the database, I could use that global search as well. Say, for example, I got a phone call from my concrete subcontractor, and I needed to pull up their record to answer a question. Again, I could use the global search. This time, click on transactions and profiles. And now what it's doing is it's searching the database. In this case, giving me best fit on records and transactions. And it's going to pull up those things. It could be everything from a database item to a subcontract to a prime contract, even to a vendor. And as I continue typing, it will continue searching for best fit on that. When I identify the item I want, I just, again, click on that, and it will pop open, in this case, that vendor that we had the question on. So at any rate, it really does help speed up someone's comfort in navigating through the system, getting in the areas that they want, and doing their job quicker. I also mentioned integrating CRM. And so Acumatica has, they've released a full CRM platform. For those of you who are not familiar with what CRM is, that's customer relationship management. So as we go out and we try to develop new business opportunities, we're able to track those leads right in our full corporate accounting system. And as those leads, as we get more and more information about those leads, they become opportunities. So if I was, for example, a subcontractor down here in South Florida, bidding to a GC, the lead might be the GC, and the opportunity could be the bid for that particular GC. And so now what we're able to do is start getting visibility on what our pipeline is, not just for work in process, but hopeful work coming online. Ultimately, we can start looking at things like win rates and lose rates and who we should bid to and who we should not bid to. And with the newest release of Acumatica, when an opportunity becomes a job, we can actually convert that opportunity to a new project and a new budget. And if you're wondering how we can look at that information from a top-down approach, and we'll talk a little bit more about role-based dashboards, but now we're able to start truly seeing, how effective we are at generating that business. And we can see who's responsible for it, all of those types of things. So I think that's a really nice value add to many of our contractors. We also mentioned having a true centralized job screen. And so it's one thing to have a job screen with some data available on it, and that is useful. But Acumatica truly did reimagine how a job can be truly not just reviewed, but run through a system. And so when we look at the job screen in Acumatica, we have the capability to really, determine how is this job going to be run. In other words, we have some clients that do projects that, believe it or not, don't have change orders on them for the type of work they do. And so do we even want to turn the change order workflow on? Do we want to secure which employees can even see this information? For those of you who are tracking production data, units, that type of thing, do we want to do that so we can determine how the job is going to behave? What is the billing format? Is it cost plus or AIA or any of those? We can indicate that. But more importantly, we can begin actually pulling data from other areas of the product automatically to give us a lot of great information. For example, if I click on the revenue budget, this is not just showing us our schedule of values. It's also going and pulling all that data for us and giving us really more of a report, which if I wanted to, I could drop this data into Excel, or at the beginning of a job, if I wanted to upload my schedule of values into this job, I could also upload my schedule of values. If I wanted to create a new AIA billing, I could definitely do that from here. I could just go ahead and update my percent of complete. So no more would I have to go to a separate window to do that. I could do that right here in this central screen. And it will update my pending invoice amount. And I could run and produce my AIA billing out of the job window. So it's not just a place where we record a schedule of values. It's a functional area in our workflow. Now, for those of you who run a larger organization and you departmentalize those processes, you can still choose to have your team enter your progress billing from a specific area in the product. The idea here, though, is you don't have to. You can work within one window. Same thing with the cost budget. When we go into the cost budget, I can import a budget, or a budget could be created from an opportunity. We talked about that a few minutes ago. Again, as we start accruing costs on this, you can start seeing where we can actually see things like committed amounts and actual cost amounts. And so it's almost like a committed cost report. We can track performance and cost to complete and all of those things. And again, all this data can be dropped into a spreadsheet, regrouped by what we call task, which is a event that we set up over here. So again, it's just much more than just a view of a static budget. In fact, if I chose to drill into the details on the cost of these, I could just go ahead and view my committed cost details and my transaction details related to this budget. So it's almost like a job cost report. As change orders occur in the system, they'll be automatically linked into this job with drill down capability into them if you need to see the detail on that change order. But it also gives you a full change order log, all the critical data points of these change orders. We talked about integrating your CRM. As meetings, phone calls, etc. occur related to this job, all of that activity is stored in the job screen. We can also produce a mini P&L on the project. So again, the idea here, let's go to one screen, get more done, give you one place to look at all your critical metrics on your job. Here's just another example of that. And again, with the capability to drill into the details. If you're looking for a committed cost log, it's also available to you right on the project. And again, these hyperlinks indicate a drill down. So if I want to drill into just the signed contract agreement, I could pull up that attachment from here if I wanted to, pull that up, or I could instead drill right into the actual transaction itself. We also track compliance. This is another big item. We do job specific, commitment specific, and vendor specific compliance. So we do have the capability to really, in most cases, expand on the way that you are typically tracking your certificates of insurance, lien waivers, and contractor licenses, all of those types of things. We're able to track that in the area of relevance to that particular form. And so, again, just to kind of reiterate, I'm in one screen and we just hit a number of different things quickly, but it is good to know that we could do that. And some other systems that we've worked with in the past to do the things we just went through, that would require you in those other systems to go into 2, 3, sometimes 4 different screens. Again, here we're doing it in a single job window. So very, very good feedback we've received on customers who are implementing Acumatica today. The next item that we're talking about is approvals and workflows. Now, as you go through Acumatica, virtually on every screen, whether we're talking about a purchase order or a subcontract or a change order, even the job window we were just on, virtually every window in the system, every screen that you're putting data in, you can configure and set up workflows and approvals. And so, think about it. Again, I talked about AP is a big topic today. If you have people who are on the go and they need to approve invoices, how are they doing that today? In Acumatica, we can turn on that workflow and push out that invoice for that project manager or owner of the business to approve. And so at a quick high level view of that, what we mean is, for example, I could be some sort of stakeholder looking at my dashboard, and I could have like a little widget on my dashboard that's indicating, hey, look, you've got some invoices to approve. And so in a lot of systems, I'd have to kind of go find those and do whatever it is you do with them. But again, here in Acumatica, we can just drill into that item. And in this particular example, what it's providing me with is a log of all of the invoices, those invoices that were indicated on my dashboard that need my approval. And so from here, I can take action on any of those invoices. Now, sometimes I may just need to take a quick look at the particular invoice itself, and so I could call up that image of that invoice. More times than not, though, you're going to want to take action on the item. And so what I could do is just drill into that particular invoice. And again, similar to what I showed just a few minutes ago with the image of that subcontract, we do store attachments in here. So if I needed to see the backup for that invoice, I could, in fact, call that up if I wanted to. And again, it's all in the browser, so from anywhere on any device. But what I can also do is take action on it. So, and when we say take action, what that really means is, am I going to approve or reject this? Now, I want to point this out. You'll notice that there's other functions listed there, then they're grayed out. And that is because we are unable to do those other actions until this invoice goes through its approval process. So whether that requires 3 people to approve it first, or maybe I've got a manager. His name is Glenn, and perhaps Glenn's off today. He's usually off most of the time, and so we can do parallel approvals where if Glenn's off, I could approve it, or vice versa. If I'm off, Glenn could approve it. It's called a parallel approval, and we could do that too. If I reject it, it kicks it back. But at the end of the day, when I do finally take action on this invoice and approve it, what's going to happen there is it takes it off hold. There's an audit trail that this has been approved. You can see the work group that's associated to the workflow. So everything's auditable. Everything is ready to go here. And now we can go ahead and pay that bill or take the next action in that workflow. And again, that is available to you on anything from setting up a job to issuing a commitment, which would be a PO or a subcontract, accounts payable, etc. We even have some clients, we've got an time and expense system in here too. We even have some clients who use that workflow engine to approve expense reimbursements. Because I could take a picture of a receipt from my phone and then submit it for reimbursement. And so we could do that as well. So that's just a quick idea on the workflows. The final thing this morning that we want to touch on is role-based dashboards. So one of the things that we think is so powerful these days is dashboarding. You know, back in the day when dashboards were harder and more costly to produce, you would hear consultants kind of typically downgrade the importance of them just because they were so expensive to produce and the data was hard to pull together. And so you just rely on reports. Nowadays, with the improvement of technology, these are very useful items. And there's no reason why we couldn't have them for the various roles in the business so we can train our team members to focus on the key performance indicators that we as a firm want our employees to focus on to be a better contractor. And so, you know, it could be things like, you know, budget versus expense. It could be something a little bit more reporting focused. It could be related to approvals and, you know, alerts. You've got some over budget projects. It could be a controller level dashboard. It could be something that's more dollar focused, right? You know, what are the cash requirements, especially as a contractor? Cash is king, or we call it the golden rule. He who has the gold makes the rules, right? So, you know, these types of key performance indicators are really important for your professionals there at your office to have this information at their fingertips. Again, these can be pulled really from any device. Or if you're maybe an owner or a project executive, you might want something more high level or global view. And one of the nice things, again, about these dashboards is they are configurable, okay? So I can come in here and have them modified. They're not fixed. I can change where these are. I can change the colors. If I don't like the color coding that's in the widget, I can change that. If I want to change the way the data is grouping and sorting, I can change it. We can do things like different types of widgets. We can do charts and data tables. And a big thing right now is called Power BI. That's Microsoft's new business intelligence system. Tableau is another big one people are familiar with. And we can start leveraging these business intelligence tools in here. we can also do things like what are called embedded pages. So an example of that is like this weather page. I'm down here in Naples, and so I could embed the weather or do a job site camera. Um, so this really does kind of expand your ability to truly leverage your information to help you become a better contractor. So, um, so with that being said, again, this is just a taste of some things that we're hoping that you'll think more about. And as you guys would like to learn more information, we definitely encourage you to call and set up a more tailored presentation to your needs. And we'll be happy to go a little deeper. And so again, here at Alliance Group, well, we thank you for your time this morning and wish everyone a great afternoon and a great rest of the week.